Hi, welcome back to the channel. Have Roots Will Travel. My name is Lisa Elvin Steltori, and I am a genealogist and a passionate traveler because when I'm doing these episodes, I'm traveling through time. I'm going to France. I'm going on a ship. I am exploring the world of New France. So we are travelers as genealogists. And this particular episode, we're going to be examining les filles du roi, the king's daughters. They began arriving in 1663. And I began this channel about 4 years ago, wanting to explore each and every one of them. There are over 700 of them. I don't know what I was thinking, but in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do all of them. I'm on episode 333, which goes to show you it's been a long 4 years, and we're just absolutely at the halfway mark, I would say, because not all the 700 women left descendants. So we're only going to focus on those that left descendants. Those that didn't leave descendants, at the very end, I will make a special episode honoring even their contribution. Now, one of the ways that you can help the channel and kind of stay in the know is subscribe. Absolutely very important. Doesn't cost anything. And like the video. That would be good if you could just click on that like. And obviously notifies. Sometimes people like that because they get a notification that a new episode has posted. If you really want to support the channel, there are other ways. You can become a member at 99-cent level, or you can also do a PayPal contribution, which many people do either on a monthly or on a one-time deal. And also there's a new thing called Super Thanks. So you might want to give that a try as well. It's kind of a little tip for that particular video. So thank you so much to all of you who have done so thus far. And with that being said, let's get on with the show and find out all about our next Fille du Roi. Francoise was born in 1651 in a commune called Pont-à-Vent, and you can see by the map that it is part of the region of Brittany, and her département or county is Finistère. Now, Pont-à-Vent is a small town in this area of France, and it is known as the city of painters. In the late 1800s, artists like Paul Gauguin came here, drawn by the river, the old mills, and the beautiful lights. Their work gave birth to what is called the Pont Avant School of Painting. At the heart of the town is the Church of Saint Joseph. It was built in the 1870s, replacing that older chapel. And it is a beautiful, beautiful place to kind of restore yourself because the all of the literature I read about it is that it had these extraordinary colorful stained glass windows and really kind of a peaceful space where you can pretty much tell that artists and creative people had passed this way. So it is that kind of essence. Now, she would come to Canada at about age 16. We do not know if her parents were alive. We don't know anything about a dowry. She would arrive here on September 25th, 1667, aboard le Saint Louis de Dieppe. Now, the groom that she would select, and he would select her, his name was André Achin du Saint-André. He was born in 1646 in Virac-sur-Trek, which is a small village in southwest of France. You can see it's in the Nouvelle Aquitaine region. And inside of that region, the département is really one we haven't seen a lot of. It's right there at the very kind of toward the farthest left or right of France, Lot et Garonne. And it dates back to the Middle Ages with a local seigneurie, a castle, and a church of Saint Etienne, whose tall spire still stands. During the Hundred Years' War, the area shifted between English and French control. Today, you can still see traces of turrets and fortified walls in the village. I chose this picture because it kind of reminded me of that medieval feeling. André would come to New France as so many had done before. He arrived in New France with the Carignan Regiment. He was part of the Deportes Company, which arrived September 12th, 1665. Now, once André had fulfilled his military duty, he was free to marry and encouraged to do so. And on the 24th of October, he did just that. October 24th, 1667, Francoise married André at Trois-Rivières. Now, remember, she was arriving here September 25th. So by October 24th, she's married. Just an incredibly, very quick turnaround. They would settle at Montreal. Let's talk a little bit about Montreal, the mighty Montreal, this wonderful city that would become this incredible metropolis. Started off just very simply as Ville Marie, the town of Marie, by the founder Paul de Chomedy, Sœur de Maisonneuve, and was essentially a missionary center when it was founded in May of 1642. The colony would not thrive, and it was on the verge of extinction when Chomedy decided to return to France to recruit 100 settlers who would be known as the Grand Recrues. From this small group would evolve such things as the Notre Dame congregation of Sister Marguerite Bourgeois. Now you can see in the map below here why Montreal was such a difficult place, because it was an island. So you could literally attack it. The Indians could attack it from any angle. And it was very hard for them to protect themselves. That's the bottom line, until 1665 when the Carignan soldiers arrived. But for most of its history up until that time, Montreal was kind of seen as kind of a fool's folly by Quebec City and Trois-Rivières. They thought, like, who's going to go and live there? In the end, that island and that ability to have things, the easy access would prove to be its greatest strength, as you can imagine, because you could always, all the ships, all of that could pass and bring things, and people could land there, just like another island city called New York City. Now, the Vieux Montreal, Old Montreal, you can see it in the upper left. It's an extraordinary place that each and every time I go to Montreal, I must breathe the air of Old Montreal. We also have in Old Montreal the church that was founded by Marguerite Bourgeois all those many years ago. You see on the bottom more of an artist reenactment of the early 1700s, what it looked like. This is the Basilica de Notre Dame, which is in downtown Montreal, in the old part of Montreal. This on the upper right is a kind of a museum's modeling of what they believe that first fort of Ville Marie would have looked like. I have the link as well for you to have a look at that. And of course, the beautiful, beautiful night sky of Montreal. When you come in on the train, for example, you literally are passing on that river, because that river is the St. Lawrence River, which of course is critical to Montreal and Quebec. So that is where they began their lives. They would go on to have 9 children. Marie-Jeanne, we have no more information on. Françoise had an interesting time of it. She would have a natural child with an unknown man in 1695. And that child's name was also Françoise, who would then go on to marry a man named François Seurat in 1714. And I mention this only in case the name Seurat, S-E-R-A-T, is in your tree. Now, she would go on and marry Pierre Girardeau, but no children from that union. And at 30 years old, she would marry Pierre Verdet and would have 3 children with him. Then we have Pierre, no other information on him. Barbe would marry Guillaume Terdy La Rivière and have 6 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. We have Achin, who would marry Marie Mercille and have 7 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. We have an unnamed child who would pass away in infancy. We have Jean, who we also have no more information on. Francoise would marry Marie-Madeleine Séguin and have 4 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Marie-Madeleine's mother was Jeanne Petit, who we profiled in episode FDR 72 way back when, and I put the link for you as well. Catherine would marry Mathieu L'Archevêque and would have 4 children, all of whom would make it to adulthood. Mathieu's mother was Marie Poussin, who we have not yet profiled. We still have quite a number of filles du roi to look at. Now, in the 1681 census, we have André and Françoise, their children, Marie, Françoise, Pierre, Barbe, Etienne, Jean, and no other information about, normally we would get like some sort of land or anything. So that's kind of an interesting thing. They were living in Montreal, possibly. He was a stonemason, so possibly he just was basically working at that and did not own any land. And that is what I sort of surmise. An unbearable tragedy would occur in April of 1699 when André was 53 years old. He would be drowned in the river, and we don't know the circumstances. All we know is that is how he passed away. Françoise herself would pass away a little over a year and a half after her husband André at the age of 49. These people were just gone too soon. She would leave us with 78 descendants, though. I always like to recommend any further research. We have one in French, Les Filles du Roi Pionnières de Montréal, which is an extraordinary book. I have it, and it was gifted to me, and absolutely treasure it. And also, The Women of Ville Marie, I've also read many times. And even if you don't have a lot of Montreal ancestors, which I actually don't, I read it, and it helped me understand my ancestors in Trois-Rivières and Quebec City and all the rest of it. Really and truly a wonderful depiction of life in that time. Please grab a hold of that if you can. It's on Amazon.com. It may be available at your local library, and definitely a good read. So once again, an extraordinary life cut short. Françoise and André's life were definitely not long, but they left a lasting legacy for Montreal and for their children and their descendants. So we are ever so grateful to them, and particularly Françoise, who braved the journey and was able to make certain that her descendants would carry on. So thank you to Françoise for your bravery, for your courage, and ultimately for your sacrifice. To have passed away at age 49 is obviously a very early death date, and we acknowledge the fact that your life was probably cut short by the fact of the gift that you gave us. So thank you, Francoise. We honor you. And we also honor the patient supporters and subscribers. You are tremendous, and thank you for always being there and looking at the videos and commenting and all of that good thing. Really, really appreciate you. And until I see you on the next episode of Les Filles du Roi, I will say au revoir.